of the week, you might say, what? Day 8? There are only 7 days in the week. Well, yesterday was day 7, so today's day 8. Um, Good morning from Browns Bay. It is a bit weird, isn't it, this whole thing? Um, Yesterday we were talking about encouragement, and I thought this morning, well, sometimes it's a bit too weird to feel encouraged. Things are kind of strange. It reminds me of Michael McIntyre when he talks about those days between Christmas and New Year. He says things like this, that every other week we know what day it is. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But then suddenly it's Christmas Day and Boxing Day and New Year's Day. And there's this kind of weird in between period where people say, what day is it? Is there post today? Can I park here today? Will the bins be emptied today? Am I allowed to eat this today? And that's the kind of thing that happens when we start counting beyond 7 days of the week. Day 8 is a bit weird. For me, Sunday is the day that always fills me with a bit of dread. I kind of think, am I ready? It's Sunday, you see. Now, every day of the week, I wake up and I think, is it Sunday? Should I be ready? And I guess that kind of state of disorganized panic is demonstrated in the dream I had last night, where I had to take a funeral. And the funeral started without me, and I was still putting my socks and shoes on next door and saying, wait, what's the time? Should I be there or not? At the moment, the funerals aren't happening anyway, so I'm not in that kind of danger. But the point is, things are very different. It's a new way of living, isn't it? And we're not really sure what we're doing. Working from home makes it weird. Nothing seems the same. There's no Saturday kind of routine. We have to try and keep those routines going. This is the new normal, and it's not been like this for a long, long time. For some people, it's still a bit surreal. I suppose the fact that Wimbledon was cancelled today probably is the final nail in the coffin for some of us. We think, gosh, it really is getting bad. That hasn't happened since World War II either. Well, in a sense, we are on a war footing. I don't always agree with our Deputy Prime Minister, but he did make a statement the other day talking about being at war, and I think he's right. During the war, everybody stopped doing what they were doing, and they put their energy into making bullets and tanks and guns and planes. Now it's all about masks and PPE equipment for the frontline workers, and it is quite hectic when you look at the numbers of people dying and the numbers of people getting infected, and then the age of people. The latest is a 13-year-old boy who died in Britain, and that's really a shock for people. They say, what? That shouldn't be like that. This is supposed to be for old people. Initially, it was for 70 plus. Then they said, 60 plus. Well, suddenly we found ourselves falling into those categories of high-risk people and thinking, I'm not even sure if I can go to the shops. So how do we do this? How do we cope? What really does encourage us? Is it the neighborhoods where people begin to talk to each other from across the street? In my street, I don't know if this is right or not legitimate. I've discovered people putting deck chairs on the pavement and talking to each other across the street for the first time, and while the kids ride up and down on their bicycles 2 meters apart. One of the greatest things the other night, well, it was dusk, and took the dog for a walk, and this guy with his 2 kids came hurtling down the road on bicycles. They had lights and equipment, but they were riding up and down the road and just having a ball, and there were no cars in sight. I thought, that's what it used to be like. We used to play tennis on the street and knock a ball against somebody's wall, the back wall of their property. So how will you be encouraged today? What will make you feel, man, I can cope with this? It's not all totally weird. Well, we're not really at war in the same way, but people will die. Yesterday I wrote an article about death and how we need to face it, how we've always denied it. It's been a kind of a taboo. I think we're going to have to be more real about that, because it is going to happen. We live at the far end of the world, and people say, we're very insular. Well, we are an island, but we're protected in many ways from the ravages that people feel in places like Europe, or the places where there's so many people living together in India and Africa and those kind of regions, where it's going to be really hard to do all the things they tell us to do, keep your distance and social isolation. And if you get sick at home with COVID-19, you're supposed to have your own bathroom and your own bedroom. Well, some places there are 12 people living in a room. How on earth do they do that? For us here in New Zealand, I guess we just need to be sensible. and practical, and also listen. Don't go out. Stay at home. Do what they suggest you do, and protect others and protect yourselves. To cope with the stress, the anxiety, listening to someone talk about anxiety yesterday, it really is an iniquitous thing, isn't it? The Bible has quite a bit to say about anxiety simply because it's so debilitating, it's so destructive. It's mingled with fear and paralysis. That's why Paul in Philippians 4 says, don't be anxious, but in everything by prayer and petition, present your requests to God, and the peace of God will come, the peace that guards your hearts and minds in Christ. We shouldn't be anxious, we shouldn't be fearful, we should be practical, and we should take each day one day at a time. There is a great song that one of the kids at church was planning to sing and couldn't do it, unfortunately. I'm hoping that she'll still be able to do it online. But it's that song that goes one day at a time, Sweet Jesus. And I think it was Chris Christopherson who sang it, and it really is quite good. Very simple thing. That's all I'm asking from you, one day at a time. Well, there might not be a tomorrow, so make the most of today. The other song that comes to mind is from the musical Godspell. It's that song that goes day by day, Lord, three things I pray: to see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, and follow thee more nearly, day by day. I hope you can do that. I'm not sure where you are in this faith thing. Some of you who listen to me every day have a sense of knowing who God is as your Father and Jesus as your friend. Others don't. I really encourage you to explore those things because it is really a day-by-day thing. And as it was in the war, you just didn't know if there was a tomorrow. Something could fall out of the sky and that was the end of it. Well, may it not be like that for us. May we find solutions. May we find success in the research to develop a vaccine. May we protect people here. May people be sensible. May you do your part to make sure that nothing goes wrong in your street, that at least when the kids come hurtling down the road on their bicycles, they're still safe and protected from harm's way. Have a fantastic day. It's day 8. It's the 2nd of April. I actually am not sure what day of the week it is. I think it may be Thursday. I'm not sure that it matters anymore. But have a brilliant day and do take care of yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. So bye-bye from Browns Bay. God bless you.